Hey guys! Welcome to my new video. I'm glad you found it. Today it's about how you can quickly and sustainably get money in New World. There are many different ways to do this in New World. Today I want to show you which 10 different ways are the best. Of course, there are other ways that I do not cover here, but this guide is also getting older and is therefore not forever up to date. Today's guide is suitable for both new players and advanced level 60 characters or returning players. If you want, you can use the timestamps at the bottom of the progress bar of the video to jump back and forth to the respective methods. If the timestamps in the progress bar don't work, then try the description, there it works in any case. One of the most important things you can and should do as a New World player is to use your daily cooldowns as good as possible. The cooldowns I'm talking about here are relatively easy to reach. They are like checkpoints that each character can reach daily, something like daily quests. In New World, there are also dailies, but they are not as profitable as the crafting cooldowns of the refining professions. Here, it's simply a matter of reaching the final level of refinement in your raw materials like metals, cloth, and leather. The last level of quality is legendary, and is behind a cooldown that only lets you craft 10 pieces a day. This cooldown, like all other cooldowns, resets at 5 AM server-wide. The first daily cooldown we are talking about is the Asmodeum cooldown. To produce Asmodeum, you must of course produce the ingots of the previous level. In this case, that would be the star metal ingots, which require the same process again. Since it would be very time consuming for you if you went to farm all of the ores from the beginning and didn't buy anything, you would of course have made 100% profit on this. However, I find that the time you need for this is in no relation to the profit. Here, I decided to buy the iron ores myself and only farm the T4 and T5 material. Here I am also a little busy, but I find it much more convenient to just buy the low-level ores and process them with a smelter set. For this gold-making method, I definitely recommend you to farm or buy a smelter set. I know that all these clothes are not very cheap, but you have earned the money in most cases directly back through the procs. If you do not know the smelter set, then it should be enough for you to know that the gear set gives you a slightly increased level on bonus rolls. Bonus rolls can occur while processing materials. Perhaps you have already noticed that you wanted to process, for example, 1,000 ores, and got more than 1,000 ores out. This chance also exists as standard, but it is increased by the smelter set. The great thing here is that it also works with the daily Asmodeum crafts we are talking about, but you are lucky if you get 11 instead of the usual 10, but even here enough is earned. You can see the recipe of Asmodeum on the screen now. For one Asmodeum ingot you need 5 orichalcum ingots, which you can farm yourself. In the info box you can now find one of my earlier videos where I introduce you to a few orichalcum farm routes. 1 Tulvium, which you can get by farming orichalcum ore with enough luck. 1 cinnabar, which you can get from orichalcum or farming with enough luck. 1 obsidian flux, which you can get through chests of any level. 2 times charcoal, which you buy in the trading post or actually farm yourself. Here later in the video more. One of the bars is on my server at a time shortly before the Brimstone Sands release at 300 coins. However, I have over the last 2 to 4 months I could observe that here the price has settled relatively stable, between 250 and 310 coins. The second method I would like to introduce to you today is basically the same as the first. Only this time we do not process ores, but we start with raw leather and stop as soon as we reach the legendary rune leather. Runeskin is limited to a quantity of 10 pieces per day, just like the Asmodeum. Here again, I would recommend you to buy the tier 1 leather and farm the tier 4 and tier 5 leather. The different leather levels can be obtained from all wild animals on Eternum. For this you should farm for thick hide wild animals from level 37 to level 57. And for the iron hide you can farm enemies with level 57 or higher. These enemies will not only drop the iron hide but also the 2 additional epic materials that we need for the recipe of the rune leather. For the thick you should go to the Restless Shore and farm the wild boars at the abandoned campsite. In the video you can see now where exactly. If you want to farm the iron hide leather, then you have to go where I now place the cross on the map. To do this, teleport to the entrance of the nearby expedition and walk the short way. Here you will again meet wild boars. However, they have a higher level than before. You will now see the recipe of rune leather on the screen. For a rune leather you need 5 times infused leather, which you get by refining the lower raw materials. 1 time smolder hide, which you can get by skinning level 57 plus enemies. 1 time scar hide, which you can get by skinning level 57 plus enemies. 1 time aged tannin, which you can get from chests of all levels. A rune skin is worth between 150 and 250 coins on my server at the time of recording. I have noticed this value fluctuating greatly in the last few months. The third method I would like to present to you today is again one of the daily cooldown crafts. This time it is about fabrics. To be more precise, it is about the fabric Phoenix weave. For this we proceed exactly the same as the 2 previous times. We buy the tier 1 fabrics and refine them with the help of our weaver's set. Then we farm the tier 4 and tier 5 fabrics, which are called silkweed for tier 4 plants and wire fiber for tier 5 plants. Here you should look for a guide on the internet that shows you where you can farm most effectively, or go to the map I link to in the description and find a farm route yourself. Let's get straight to the point here. You can see the recipe of Phoenix weave on the screen now. For 1 Phoenix weave you need 5 times infused silk, which you can make by refining the low-level materials. 1 time scale cloth, which you can get by collecting wire fiber. 1 time blister weave, which you can get by collecting wire fiber. 1 time wire weave, which you can get from chests of any level. A Phoenix weave is worth between 150 and 250 coins on my server at the time of capture. I have noticed this value fluctuating moderately over the last few months. The fourth tip I have for you is very simple and can also be done in the low levels. For this you should prepare a little bit, especially in the low levels. We want to farm wood, namely the normal green wood which you can find in front of every settlement and in almost every area. You may think now that the farming of wood does not make us rich. You are even right, but it is really profitable to earn a starting balance. Here you are also in a few hours at a considerable amount of wood, which gets you after 1 to 2 hours of farming a small mountain of wood, worth 2,000 to 5,000 coins. When you process the wood into charcoal in a kiln, it is sometimes even a little more worth. But you have to check that for yourself on your server. To farm wood efficiently you should train your character on the attribute Constitution. Here you get the following perks: plus 10% logging speed for the first 50 invested points, minus 10% weight of logging items for the first 150 invested points, plus 10% logging speed at the first 200 invested points, plus 10% yield at the first 250 invested points, plus 25% chance to chop down a tree in a single swing at the first 300 invested points. Here it almost doesn't matter at which farm spot you farm, because the density of wood is very high everywhere. I was farming in front of the Abonscale capital. Here are many small bamboo palms that are very fast to cut down. They give a little less wood, but here the chance of green and blue items increases because you cut down more trees faster, and accordingly more often have a loot roll. The fifth tip is even easier. Here I really recommend you to watch Netflix or do something else while you collect water with your character in-game and walk a bit in between. Water is easy to have for everyone, but most people are very lazy and buy the water in the auction house. With this tip you do not earn a golden nose, but you can watch Netflix and definitely still have earned a little money, and that too without any real effort. The sixth tip I give you is simple processing. If you are able to have one of the different armor sets that gives you the chance to get bonus items from processing, you should simply farm the raw materials that you can increase through processing. Of course, this method requires some patience and is a bit boring. But crafting is a central focus of New World. Everyone practices it and needs the raw materials that you can best provide. The seventh method to get a lot of money with relatively little effort is to farm hyssop. Due to the change in the summer that has made hyssop a central crafting element for the Arcana table and potions, the raw material is able to keep a very stable price that fluctuates minimally between 0.40 and 0.60 coins. Since you get with the Gathern a plant between 3 and 4 pieces of hyssop, you have with the right farm route relatively quickly 4-digit amounts reached. To farm hyssop, I went to a Bonscale Reach and made there at the northernmost teleport shrine my turn. In this area you can walk almost in any direction and find enough hyssop. It is best to take the map to help you. Here the resources are displayed a little better than on the navigator that you have in the top center. Tip number 8 is aimed at players who like to work with the trading post. Here comes the good old flipping to address. Almost every MMO has it, and in every MMO it is practiced. For those who do not know what I mean by flipping, it is quite simple to buy items cheaply and sell expensive. In this project, the bot plague in New World actually play us even into the hand. Bots that farm automatically in New World are programmed to take even small resources that can be found along the way, which can be anything from fruit to motes. The best experience I could make here with fruit that you can really sell for almost twice the money it costs you. For this you only need some gold on the edge. First you have to go to the trading post and create the raw materials as a purchase order. Here you have to advance the coins. The bots that now collect individual goods will also sell them automatically in the auction house, and only at the highest price that is available as a purchase order. Here counts, but also really the market knowledge at your server. Take a look at all the articles and make a note of the potential flipping articles, and then try it. I was able to earn the most money in my experiments, but you also need a starting capital. Method number 9 is a tip that everyone can apply if he has already farmed materials. Here you have certainly noticed that when you farm the perk items for crafting are collected also while farming. Here is with many different raw materials also the small chance to get a very rare item in the form of a perk. For this you should simply regularly look through your inventory, and always offer the most expensive perk items for sale. Here I often had a strong moment of surprise because I had not expected to find such an expensive item in my inventory. This tip is of course only worthwhile for players who do not want to craft equipment through the perk items later. And the last and 10th tip I have for you is just to keep your eyes open and take all the chances you get. Here I'm talking more specifically about using the opportunities that arise with new patches. For example, the prices of the materials of new manufacturable opportunities usually fluctuate. For example, with the Asmodeum ingots, after a while there will be quite a drought in the trading post, which could give you the opportunity to create a kind of monopoly by buying all the materials in time and selling them at the right time as expensive as possible. But there are also several other ways to earn big money with a new patch. I advise you to keep your eyes open and whenever possible consume the information about changes in the game and then of course draw conclusions that can bring you a monetary advantage. Here I could earn in the past already sometimes the big money. Here it is relatively common to earn large sums of over 50,000 coins and more. If you still watching the video at this point, I thank you very much. I hope I could help you with the tips at least a little further and fill your wallet a little. If you have any other tips for the other players, then please post them in the comments. If you liked the video, I would be happy about a like and a comment. Have a nice time and stay healthy.